I have to talk about what happened with Big Cass, or Kaz XL, at last night's WrestlePro show in Rahway, New Jersey. This was a big story that broke late last night. There was an event. It was a farewell for the owner of WrestlePro, Pat Buck, who is now working for WWE backstage as an agent or a producer, whatever they're calling them these days. And Voices of Wrestling had a story. They broke the news, I think, on their Patreon initially, but PW Insider went into greater detail on their website after they were able to confirm things with 3 or 4 different sources as far as what the hell happened last night. Because it sounds like Kaz absolutely lost his mind. And they had the full rundown as we currently know it. I'm sure more details are going to come out. We don't know Kaz's side of the story, so you have to just keep that in mind as well. Maybe he was set off by something, we don't know. But as the story goes, Kaz was supposed to make an appearance, unadvertised, in a battle royal on the show. And he was backstage, and he was said to be acting very erratic, very aggressive throughout the night. And it was rubbing a lot of people the wrong way throughout the entire show. And he had some kind of a confrontation with Joey Janela. Because if you remember, we talked about Joey Janela at the Blink-182 concert, wanting to throw down, or maybe it was Enzo saw him, and Janela supposedly was trying to just make peace and say hello, and he had made comments about Enzo before. Enzo was in no mood to be friendly with him, wanted to throw hands. It's just, even just thinking back, just the visual in my head, it's comical. Because there was video as well, and it was very obvious that both these guys, it was just, I'm not sure either one of them ever been in a real fight in their entire lives. That much was pretty obvious by watching that video. So that whole thing was just comical. So it may have had to do with that, because Kaz and Enzo have since they've made up. They've made appearances on the independent scene together. They had that one appearance in Ring of Honor at MSG that went absolutely nowhere. So they were on the outs, and now they're all made up now. So maybe he was standing up for his friend. He approached Janela. Did Janela approach him first? That I don't know. But there was some kind of an incident or a confrontation involving the two of them, supposedly, and this is not confirmed. Kaz may have slapped Janela. Again, that's not confirmed. They were supposedly in the same locker room the night before at a Northeast Wrestling show, and there was no incident. So why all of a sudden there would be an incident between the two of them, nobody seems to know. So people came over to Kaz. They were trying to calm him down. They were trying to diffuse the situation, and he was being very loud. He was being very belligerent, and people started to threaten him and say, "Dude, we're going to put you out of here if you don't stop this." So he just kept acting erratically. 4 different sources they confirmed this with. He was going through the locker room. Now he's accusing people of stealing a sweater of his. He starts threatening people. He's going to, quote, take care of the entire locker room if they don't return his sweater to him. I guess this sweater was very important. So he ends up in a locker room backstage. He's in the same, dressing room in the backstage area with SCU and with Pat Buck. They were putting their match together for the main event. All of a sudden, here's Kaz. And now he's accusing everybody of stealing his shit. And that all-important sweater, I guess. Being very threatening towards people. He looked at Pat Buck. Now, remember, Pat Buck, the owner, this is a farewell to him. It's really a show that was all built around him. A lot of people have a lot of respect for Pat Buck. Some people don't. Nonetheless, Kaz turns to him, and he basically says to him, "What are you going to do? What are you going to do, tough guy?" And he spits in Pat Buck's face. Pat Buck, I guess at this point, felt that he had no choice, and he had to stand up for himself. And he knocked, this is according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, who heard from his own sources at the show, Pat Buck knocked the living shit out of Cass and knocked him down. Punched him right in the face. Took him down with one punch. So now he's grabbing Kaz on the floor. He's trying to hold him down. He's trying to control him. And now other wrestlers come in and they kind of pull Kaz out of the room. They had police were already there, I guess. There were reports that he was arrested. He was not arrested, but he was removed from the building. They did kick him out of the building. There is a photo online that shows police standing around a guy who is sitting on the ground. We can't see his face. It looks like Kaz. Supposedly it's Kaz, filmed from behind. And Kaz was making comments that really concerned the police. You know, there's rumors that maybe he threatened to kill himself. He was threatening some kind of self-harm. And so instead, they called an ambulance and they had him taken to a hospital. Or a local medical facility, I'm sorry. And that's all we know so far. But a lot of people have apparently, chimed in who were at the show and said that he was acting like a complete asshole. They don't know what the hell happened. And he did not make any friends backstage at this show. Almost ruined the night for everybody. So I don't know what the hell is going on with Cass. I had thought, I remember that video that DDP put out, and he was being very open and very honest about his alcoholism and depression, and he was in a very bad place. And he had seemingly started to get his life back together. He had recognized that he was in a terrible downward spiral. He sounded better. He looked better physically. If you look at him recently, he looks to be in great shape. He got himself in great shape. And it looked as if Kaz was, on his way back to a good place in his life. There were rumors recently. I don't know who spread the rumors. Triple H seemed to insinuate that Enzo was the one who spread them himself. That Enzo and Kaz were on their way back to NXT. Triple H cut that off real quick. You just listened to Triple H talking to TalkSport a few weeks ago, and he was kind of diffusing the rumor, and the disdain in his voice for Enzo Amore was palpable. And he basically said, if Enzo wants to spread rumors about himself, you're not going to do it on my watch. But he never really said anything about Kaz. And there were reports recently, and Kaz himself, I think, has done interviews, saying that he has been in touch, supposedly, this is according to him, with people in WWE, and the door is open, and he would love to come back, even if it's just as a single. So it doesn't sound like Enzo is welcome. But it sounded like maybe there could be opportunities down the road for Kaz to come back. And then you hear a story like this. And it sounds, without having his side of the story, it sounds very much like he is not in a good place. And whatever is going on with him, and he has documented that he has had problems with alcohol. Now, I have no idea if this had to do with alcohol, if he's got some other kind of mental health problems. Clearly, he's got mental health issues. That is obvious, that this guy has mental health problems. Especially if the cops had to call an ambulance to take him to a hospital because they thought this guy might kill himself. So this really has nothing to do with wrestling anymore. Here's a guy who needs help. And hopefully he can get his shit in order here. Because this is sad. And if things like this continue to happen, one day, he may mouth off to the wrong person. And it may not be Pat Buck punching him in the face. It could be something far worse. Or he's liable to do something to himself. So I'm not here to make fun of the guy. I'm not here to pile on the guy. These are, these are the story, or this is the story, I should say, as we know it at this point. We don't have all the details, but as I am recording this, this is the way things stand. Not good. Not a good look for Big Cass, and I suspect that we will not be seeing him back anytime soon in WWE. And frankly, I'm not so sure that really should be his top concern at this point. So I hope he gets whatever help he needs.